right. Okay. There we go. A little bit later of a stream, everybody. 1 second. Just getting set up here. There we go. Blap, what's up, dude? Good to see you. Hope you're doing well, man. All right. No, 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 no. There we go. Okay. Sorry, guys. I think we're just about set up here. So this stream is a little abrupt. Or a little quick, but I wanted to do a quick react and kind of have a conversation with the community, because the conversation's been happening off and on all day, and I've had a busy, hellacious week, and I'd like to just hang out with you guys. I'd like to hang out with you guys for a couple hours, shoot the shit, kind of talk about some things, you know. I hope it's okay with you guys. But yeah, that's the plan. You know, I don't care if it's okay with you guys. That's what I'm doing. I need this break. I need this. It's been a brutal week so far. Okay. There we go. Move this over here. There we go. Turn that down just a little bit on your guys' end. All right. Pull up one more here in case we get to it. I'm almost ready, guys. I'm almost ready, I promise. There it is. Okay. All right, time to cut the music temporarily. All right, I hope everybody's doing well. I'm going to do a brief overview of my week, but let me check real quick. Terrace, thank you for the follow. But long story short, this weekend I had to replace the brakes on one of my vehicles, and I also had to replace the gear hubs on it. And if you guys have ever done that or know what those are, it's a huge pain in the ass. The wheel bearings in the front, the entire taking out the entire hub and then replacing it. You know, sometimes things seize up, and I think I spent about 12 hours this weekend doing it. And my garage doesn't have air conditioning, so it was just sweaty mess. And it was fine. I got done with that, and I was relaxing on Sunday and hanging out with the wife. We were watching a movie, and woke up Monday and I got food poisoning. And I don't think it's exactly food poisoning. I think the wife said it's called norovirus. So yeah. So somehow contracted norovirus on Monday, and I've been dealing with this. Hasn't been great. And then Wednesday my wife got it because, you know, it's the gift that keeps on giving. And so I've just been busy with taking care of the house, taking care of everything while my wife recovers. And so it's been a busy week. It's been a busy week. And so I woke up this morning and I got tagged in our Ashes of Creation Discord, and I got tagged in the main Discord, and Nice came out with this video that has arisen a bunch of conversation. And it's stuff Nice and I have talked about in the past. I hadn't seen his video yet, but I kind of have an idea what he's talking about, but I figured it'd be fun to watch his video on stream, kind of react to it, talk about it, and all those fun things. And so that's what we're going to do, and we'll have a conversation about, you know, what he's talking about basically. So that's what we're going to do. Let's dive into it. There we go. Let's enlarge this. But I promise I'll be getting back to more regular streaming. It's just been a rough week. But we're almost through it. Tomorrow's Friday. Let's watch the video.
It's nice. I hope all of you AOE enjoyers are having a nice day. Today, I want to discuss large-scale combat in MMOs and what we want to see.
There.
Hello, gamers. It's nice. I hope all of you AOE enjoyers are having a nice day. Today, I want to discuss large-scale combat in MMOs and what we want to see in upcoming MMO, Ashes of Creation. I'd like to gather some meaningful feedback in this video, so be sure to watch it all and leave your thoughts in the comments below.
Okay.
MMOs, especially PvP-centric ones, have always been known to include large-scale warfare and cater to Zergs. Strength in numbers is a concept that holds true in many multiplayer games.
Okay, hold on. The whole thing about Sun Tzu and the art of war, and the reason this became so popularized was because he was fighting an army much larger than himself. Okay, so I do not think that this is a proper segue into talking about large Zergs, but we'll see.
Holds true in many multiplayer games of any genre, whether that be your guild taking an objective in an MMO or your squad in a first-person shooter like Call of Duty Warzone, Halo, Battlefield, etc., just pushing together. Attempting to outnumber your enemy or strategically place your allies in areas to overpower a section of an enemy's defenses is a valid and smart strategy. I spoke about this in great length in my MMO Zerg problem video, which I'll have linked at the end of this video. That being said, let me get to a rough summary of my take. I think Ashes of Creation will be a Zerg-heavy MMO. This is not the most unique prediction, as I feel the concept of risk versus reward, death penalties, the threat of being PK'd, difficulty of content, and more will inevitably cause players to gravitate towards being in larger groups. At the end of the day, this is a MMO. It should be played with friends. I'm not out here advocating for the MMO solo player enthusiast. There's enough of those. Hell, I think the MMO that I played the most, being ESO, is perhaps the most solo-friendly MMO, but that's not what I want. That's not what I prefer. But Ashes of Creation isn't like this in terms of combat. Steven wants to get back to that group-focused gameplay, that difficult gameplay where you need that cleric and your self-healing is probably limited, where you need that bard for cleanses and mana sustain, where you actually need that tank to be good and generate enough threat, and where you need that rogue to, who are we kidding? We don't need the rogue, am I right?
Wow. Unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, it's not branching out too far to say that an MMO is going to be Zerg heavy, and especially one with the amount of risk that Ashes of Creation is going to have. Yeah, I do agree that there will be large groups running around, and as they should. If you're playing together with friends and you have a lot of friends to play with, why shouldn't you be able to play with them? Why shouldn't you be able to play together and have fun, right? So, yeah, I take great offense to the rogue part, even though it's correct.
Hey guys, am I right, Steven? But seriously, I think this issue comes in when there's groups just zerging all of this non-instance content, zerging the world bosses, zerging each floor of a dungeon, etc., etc. And then the fact that there's just probably no counter to them. I've had a member of the community already calling for nerfs to AoE and Ashes of Creation, and quite frankly, I disagree with him and believe the opposite. We need to buff AoEs. Snickers, you stop this AoE talk. Snickers has been leading a campaign in the AOC Discord to reduce the amount of AoEs. or maybe reduce their damage. Sir, how can you have a take to change something combat related like that before we even test it? But I see, me personally, I think AoE is fine. You need strong AoE. Mark my words. This is just my take. This is my theory. I think Ashes of Creation is going to be a very Zerg intensive game. It's going to reward you for being in large numbers. Exactly. Pally knows where I'm going with this. More AoE, more anti-Zerg. People are going to be afraid of the death penalties, and I think people know that Zerg open world content, especially that it's not instance, it's just going to be more beneficial to have a group. And yes, there's finite.
Yeah, forget Rogue. What? Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, they did. We don't know when the Rogue's going to come out now. So technically they did forget Rogue. But yeah, this is from Nice and Nice podcast on Tuesday.
Loot available, but you keep it to a 10-man, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. But you're going to be rewarded for Zerginus content. You're going to have an easier time. And I mean, it's an MMO. It should be catered to that style somewhat. In terms of modern MMOs go, I don't know too many more MMOs that's more guild focused. One of them has the word guild in the title, but anyway, it's super guild focused, super Zergy. The world events are super Zergy. You're in a group of like 30 plus, and it's something. And I imagine Ashes of Creation is almost leading itself to end up in that same predicament, if you will. I personally believe there needs to be strong AoE in very guild focused or Zerg heavy games. I personally dislike seeing open world content trivialized because we brought 40 people randomly from zone chat into this area. In terms of PvP, I like to punish players stacking close to each other, so I'd love to see abilities like a black hole that pulls people into the center of it and then immobilizes them. I'd love to see AoE abilities that do more damage based on the amount of targets you hit with it. Essentially, things that reward good AoE placement, timing, and give a sense of reward when used at the right time to punish an enemy group. This has fun applications in PvE and PvP. Now, I'm not saying AoE mob grinding is fun, come on, but it is often satisfying using the right skill at the right time for the right situation, and then having multiplicative scaling AoEs.
Look how zoomed out
it just feels good. In fact, this is what gave birth to the MMO Bomber. You guys know what I'm talking about. The glass cannon build designed to burst large groups with a large output of DPS in a very short window of time. Definitely a fun playstyle that I'd love to see possible in some archetype kits if spec'd for it, of course. Because I mean, large scale combat should be fun. A lot of that fun is determined by who you play with, your group composition, current objectives, time to kill, the strength of healing, the competence of your support roles, choke points, a good shot caller, and much more. But the question comes down to, should you always win simply because you have more numbers? My thoughts is no. And Intrepid has stated that with the right comp or skill, you can win against the odds. And I know what a lot of you are thinking. Oh, nice. You just like outnumbered PvP. You just want a 1vx. Nice. You're gaining weight. You're getting a little fat. Blah, blah, blah. I'm approaching this from a large scale battle standpoint or even a small group standpoint.
Who's saying he's getting fat?
Defending your node during a node siege as the attackers break through the front gate of your node choke point and you have less people than them. You should be rewarded in that situation if you outsmart them, are better, and time things a little bit better, even though there's less of you than them. Now, I'm not being hyperbolic and saying a 10-man group should wipe 50. I'm just saying that the strength of AoE should be appropriate or have some AoE options that scale based on the proximity of the targets or how many targets that you hit. That's all. What I do not want is AoEs hitting one person and being comparable damage to single target skills. Let's not get it twisted. That is not what I'm saying. That's just bad game design. I think a well-timed AoE to humble a group and catch them slipping should be rewarded. But so if you guys see the situation, I know it's low quality right now.
This is from the podcast.
Video, but each one of these guys are enemies. I'm literally solo. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people on screen.
Yeah. So I feel like he's outlined this pretty well. It's kind of funny the conversations that we've had today about this because he's basically outlined everything. Like the issue with AoEs that you often have is if AoEs become too powerful, then it eliminates single target. And single target, in my opinion, should always hit harder than AoEs unless they have a ramping escalation of damage. In that case, if there's a bunch of people around, if you have let me restart. if you have a ramping escalation of damage on a skill and there's a bunch of people in the area, then it makes sense, right? Then it makes sense that that skill is going to hit a lot harder in that specific situation. But it's only a tool in that specific environment where it's better. It's a specific tool for a specific situation. Now, there we go. Okay, so my point is when I look at this, yeah, you don't want them to be stronger than single target. You should be able to have some tools to fight larger groups. Is it the only tool? No, and he had addressed it pretty well in this video as well. There's other mechanics that come into place when you talk about dealing with large groups. And the big thing is well, we'll finish this video because I don't want to say anything that he might say, and then I'll talk about my perspective at the end.
I'm like low health, fighting for my life. You see, I'm backed into this corner. These guys got me backed into a corner, and then just one good AOE, one good turn and burn. Look, I have 0 stam. Just one good turn and burn. Boom, they're done. They're done. That's what Elsa and I like to do. Just straight combo. 1vx turn to fight, clean up this guy. They're done. And you just bask in the glory. And you can't do situations like that. You can't do situations like this without good AoE scaling, or if you nerf AoE scaling, you need to have some sort of way to punish large groups. I'm not saying one person should be the superhero. We need we want to see group play. We want to need a bard. There's another example. We want to need a bard. We want to need a cleric. We want all that, but there should be some ways to or to punish groups in a sense. So yeah,
just so like just throwing bodies at the problem isn't always like the meta solution.
Exactly.
Even though we have like 670 people, like we don't want to do that. That is not enjoyable experience at all. Because then it's just a numbers game. Then like I'm not talking tactics with guys. I'm just doing a roster of like, did you show up? Did you not show up? Then I'm doing attendance like we're in fucking school. Like I don't want a guild lead like that. That's no fun at all.
In conclusion, I'd like you to leave your thoughts on large-scale MMO warfare. How do you predict Ashes of Creation large-scale warfare being?
Exposed.
What are your thoughts on how AoE should scale, and do you like the concept of a bomber playstyle? What are some other MMOs you played that you feel did it good or bad? Let me know in the comments below. I'll be responding to each of you. Alpha 2 for Ashes of Creation is very close, so we have more videos and more streams on the way. Go ahead and check out this video or playlist on screen if you want to watch.
Yeah, so good video, nice, well said. I do agree with it, obviously. Yeah, it's funny because there's all sorts of tools that you can use to combat Zergs, right? Like, and ESO has a bunch of other issues that promote large group PvP, and the ramping escalation of damage is the best situation that they have come up with to combat it. And I talked about it a little bit on the live stream today, or in the Discord today, but there were two sets there was a skill that was introduced and there was a specific set that was introduced. And I played ESO for a very long time. And before this, there was a lot of 40, 50, 60 man groups running around, and they just run around, they take over keeps, and there was really nothing you could do about it. Like, unless you had at least 20 to 30 people, and even then, like, those numbers are way too big, you couldn't do anything. You couldn't use siege. Like, they just had so much healing, they had so much of everything that you couldn't dent them, and so they'd steamroll the map, and it happened every time. And if you guys played ESO, you guys are on my channel, you know this, but people would hop on, and like all of a sudden at the end of the night, you just see this group steamrolling everybody, and you're like, well, this fucking sucks. Like, I can't fight this. You know, there's 10 of us. We can't fight this. There's 20 of us. We can't fight this. It's just a huge friggin' blob. We needed something. And like I said, there's other problems. But one thing that they introduced is they introduced proximity detonation, that they buffed it to a point to where the amount of people in the area that it hits, it escalates in damage. So it provided an escalator. So it didn't do a ton of damage if it only hit one person, but as it hit more people, it did a lot more damage, and it made it a lot more effective. And then they introduced a set called Vicious Death, meaning that if anybody died in a group, when they died, they would explode and deal fire damage to people in the area. And so what this did is it created extra damage off of a situation. So if you killed just one person, it would often create a chain effect of deaths, and it was effective. And so what happened was these 40, 50, 60 man groups, they went from being these unbeatable, indomitable forces that you couldn't take over to resource pinatas, or AP, alliance points. So that's what it was. So when you kill people, you get alliance points. They're AP pinatas. You'd go in there, you would nuke these people, you would gain so much AP, and it would just deter them from wanting to run in these large groups. And so it was very effective. It was very effective. It stopped those 40, 50, 60 man groups from running around for years. Like actual years, multiple years. Like those big groups stopped running around because they knew that people could hop on bombers and absolutely just blow up their shit. And there's nothing that they could do about it. Like, oh wow, I guess we're just not as effective, right? And the point that I'm using to bring all this up is large scale PvP should be a thing. 100%. I want to be clear with that right here. If you want to run in large groups, you should absolutely be able to run in large groups. I am not denying that. I'm not a huge fan of it personally, but large groups should exist in MMORPGs. It's part of the experience, right? It's part of the game. If you enjoy it, you should be able to enjoy it. What I disagree with and what I don't find enjoyable is when it's the only way to play, right? Like if the option for winning a war is always send more players, like just send more players and you win. It's not use different sets. It's not learn to play better. It's not learn to get better. If it's just send more players, that's all everybody's going to do. People running in 10 mans are going to get phased out by 20 mans. People in 20 mans are going to get phased out by 30 mans, and over and over and over again. And Steven and Intrepid have come out and said that they don't want that. They don't want a Zerg based game. There's other ways to approach this, of course, but this is a tool. AoE based mechanics are damage mechanics are a way to eliminate large scale groups from really taking over. And so it was interesting, the entire Vicious Death situation. It worked for years. And then they had a server test situation where they went through and they were testing, trying to figure out the issue with lag on the servers. And so they got rid of these sets. And so they said these sets that do proc damage, like Vicious Death, we're going to eliminate it from being effective in PvP for this test to see if it's going to make performance any better. They were just trying to identify where the issue was coming from. And when they did that, when they did that test for like 3 or 4 weeks, all of those large groups came back. Every single one of those large 30, 40, 50 man groups that I hadn't seen for years, they came back because they no longer had a counter. And it was just like all of a sudden the map was getting steamrolled by a ton of people. And the minute they shut off the tests and the minute Vicious Death came back, those groups disappeared again. Those really large groups. Does that mean that people were running around in 15, 20 man groups? Absolutely. Does it mean occasionally people were running around in 30s? Sure. But they weren't dominating just because they had 60. And that's the difference. That's the difference in my opinion. And so obviously it's not just AoE damage. You don't have to approach it that way. I do like how Ashes is approaching it, where they just have a very low time to kill. Low time to kill means high damage, which means high burst damage, which means that a group coordinating at a specific point at specific people have a chance to really mess up a group. So if a team is working together and you focus the clerics properly and you eliminate their healing, you have a real chance to be able to outlast them. Right. And so I do like what Ashes is doing, but with the amount of augments that are coming in, with the 64 different classes, with the different weapon types, would it be that surprising if an AoE based like ramping escalation damage ability existed that was effective? If it would that be surprising if that existed in the game? I don't think so at all. And so, yeah, I thought this was a good video. I mean, obviously I do agree with it. It's not my favorite type of playstyle. I saw a lot of conversations in the Discord today talking about how it also promotes ball groups, which it 100% can. And that's a whole nother issue. Just an organized large group, spamming one button and being effective. And I don't think that's good combat either. I think sometimes like people are going to find the lowest common, easiest denominator, no matter what the combat you choose. But yeah, there's other things you can do to like, you can have both, right? I think you can have ramping, escalating AoEs, and then you can also do things to make ball groups not as effective. Like, will they exist? Will people run them? Sure, absolutely. Should they be 100% the meta or no, I don't. I think there's ways you can go about doing that, and I think a lot of that involves the healing and defensive aspect that those types of groups run to survive, and you can tweak things, skills and abilities around it to adjust there. What else we got here? But yeah, I'm going to delete Nice's video, close it down because I already seen it. And we are going to go to the next one here. So this popped up on my timeline, and it is from an account I've never seen before. And it says top 3 reasons why Ashes of Creation is for casual players. And it's from Lazy Tavern. So kind of excited to see this because I do agree that this game can be for casual players, and I want to see his point of view. There we go.
If you just recently discovered Ashes of Creation, or maybe have been following them since their early development, you know just as well that there's a chance that as a casual player you can be quite overwhelmed about the complexity there's built into their various systems. But does this mean that there's no place for the casual players in Ashes of Creation? Absolutely not. In this video, I'll go through why at first glance you might think that Ashes of Creation is not a place for a casual gamer. Then I'll cover the top 3 reasons why Ashes of Creation is in fact more casual friendly than you think. And towards the end I'll include an honorable mention that I'm sure a lot of casual players will be coming for. My name is Christian and welcome to the Lazy Tavern. So why does Ashes of Creation at first glance not seem casual friendly? Looking into the depth of the node system gets you going into a rabbit hole of information and possibilities. And further, you have to pay taxes as a citizen. PvP mode is always on, with the possibility to be ganked anywhere in the world. You have no safe space, except from inside your own house. Open world dungeons and raids, leaving you only to wonder, do you even have a chance to try them out? Wild depth of crafting with the implementation of genetic to the breeding profession as an example. The caravan system, planning ahead for materials you want to gather and ship across the continent, after spending a long time even crafting the caravan itself. And then we have the 64 classes. Like, are you kidding me? And I know some of you might be like,
Stop selling it, kid, you won.
but it can frankly be overwhelming to grasp. So before moving on with the top 3 reasons why it will be more casual friendly than you think, let's get the facts straight. What is a casual gamer and why are they needed in Ashes of Creation? Casual gamers is the crowd that creates the masses in an MMO. So for any MMO, they are essential for the economy, to
Okay. So not for nothing, this guy's editing is fantastic. And he is oh my goodness. So for 179 subscribers, this guy has 179 subscribers and he has this kind of editing. Really well done. Like already really good job. If you watch this video, you're going to catch up rather quickly. Like this is awesome so far.
casual friendly than you think. Let's get the facts straight. What is a casual gamer and why are they needed in Ashes of Creation? Casual gamers is the crowd that creates the masses in an MMO. So for any MMO, they are essential for the economy, to fill the ranks and to make the world feel alive. Without casual gamers, there would be so little to show off your epic hard-earned reward to. Remembering back 2007, where Black Temple were just released, 14-year-old me could find people in the capital with the legendary weapons from Illidan and being impressed. Same would apply for Ashes. With their high-risk, high-reward system, there would be people to admire for their accomplishments. And it has to be this way. When we are talking casual versus hardcore gamers,
Sure.
most study is using time spent gaming as the key driver. The research into the gaming market by Consumer Technology Association is working with 3 categories: hardcore, core, and casual gamers. Spending time from 37 hours a week as a hardcore, 29 hours a week as a core, and then 13 hours for a casual. For simplicity, we will remove the most casual from the MMO genre and put ourselves somewhere in between here. This gives us the average daily playtime of just about 3 hours every day. It should be very clear that this is an average, so it doesn't mean that it has to be 3 days every day. But if you have a long gaming session one evening, it will add up the hours, as well as if you have a gaming weekend or something.
Oh my God. I guess I just came to the realization that I'm a casual gamer. Like I can't play 40 hours a week. Like what? Like I don't consider myself casual. I don't consider myself hopping in to play a game and just taking it lax. Like I take it seriously. But no, there's no way I'm playing 37 hours a week on a game. There's no way. Casual and bad. Fair enough. Oh my God. 40 million people playing 37 hours a week. 55 million people playing 29. I mean, 29 I could see more of. Like you get a long weekend. That kind of adds up. But Jesus.
Casual. For simplicity, we will remove the most casual from the MMO genre and put ourselves somewhere in between here. This gives us the average daily playtime of just about 3 hours every day. It should be very clear that this is an average, so it doesn't mean that it has to be 3 days every day. But if you have a long gaming session one evening, it will add up the hours, as well as if you have a gaming weekend or similar. Neither do you have to play exactly 3 hours. Everything below the 3 hours also puts you in the category of a casual gamer. Personally, I fall under this category as a casual gamer, and I cannot even put it in 3 hours every day with work, family, and friends and board games. So for me, everything I cover in this video is very relevant for the game to succeed. Just because casuals is essential for a game like Ashes of Creation doesn't mean that it necessarily has to make the game easy. So let's hear it from Steven Sheriff, the creative director, if they plan to just make the game easy for everyone.
I can't believe he's speaking
It
to me.
touches something tangential actually to that as well, which is that adventuring is not easy in Ashes. Our intent when we actually, focus on balance, which we haven't really done too much yet, but we will here in the very, very near future. The intent is that encounters are difficult. The world is dangerous. It is not a cakewalk to progress within Ashes. And that fact reinforces when you get the scarce drop that you will feel a difference in your performance or in that environment, right? So naturally, Ashes is going to gravitate towards a more difficult gameplay loop when it comes to adventuring and combat.
Now with that out of the way, let's get started with the first.
So Yulish says, played Dota for 14 hours yesterday, hyped to No Life Ashes. Fair enough. Fair enough. I can't remember the last time I was able to play a game for 14 hours. I do miss it. I do miss it. But even then, like I don't know if I can right now. I just feel so tired after playing. Like, oh my God, I just sound old as shit. But I've just been like, I'll play for, I think the longest I'd normally play now, like if I put in a good session, is like 6-7 hours. If I play something I'm really enjoying, 6-7 hours straight. But yeah, I mean, with ESO, I was doing it easily. Like I know for ESO when I was playing for a while, I was putting in 30 plus hours a week regularly. Like I'd put in 2 to 3 hours in the morning, 2 to 3 hours in the evening. Like it was easy. And then since then, I just, kids happened and I don't have as much time to do that. But when they get to playing games, my power will be amplified. I'll be able to just multitask like crazy because I'll just be able to have my account running nonstop. They'll be able to hop on and farm for me, and they'll be able to do specific things. And then when I hop on later, I'll just get to be able to do the things I want to do. I streamed ESO for 10 hours last week and I was so drained. Dude, playing and streaming is exhausting. It really is. If you're doing it right, it is.
First, casual friendly system. And the first one is a big one. That's the story arc system. In the world, there will be large storylines being told on a real life clock, giving the options for most players to actually experience large events that shape the world. Simply, Ashes of Creation questing system is split into 3 ways of questing. First of all, you have events, as some of you might know from Guild Wars 2, which means that there will be random events appearing around the world that you can optionally take part in. If you want to know more about this event system, go check out my video regarding the various systems in Ashes of Creation. I'll leave a link down below. The second way of questing is the commissioning board, which works quite similar to the very well implemented system called town boards in New World.
I was gonna say.
Just better, I promise. And last, there's the story arc. Everybody who is eligible in level or area can participate in a specific story arc. Each player completing it in a certain way will directly affect the outcome of the story when the time has passed. I mean, that's great, right? If you don't directly grasp the importance of this, I'll give you the example. We know that the story arcs will directly affect the world, opening and closing new dungeons, raids, resources and hunting areas. So put it into familiar settings. I'll go back to classic World of Warcraft and the opening of the AQ gates. All players on the various servers were excited for this event to happen, waiting patiently so we could travel to AQ 20 and AQ 40 and test our skills. It unlocked new areas everyone were excited for.
What is this?
But how many of you can actually say that you participated in the extreme quest line for opening the gates? Very few, I suspect. In Ashes terms, almost everyone will have the chance to experience this event and feel involved because their action in the story arc were added to the balance of the outcome of this particular story. So let's say the story arc can be completed by either killing goblins or befriending them. The way you decide to complete the quest will be added to the accumulated weight of that story arc. In the end, netting the server the outcome that most of you participated in. This is an impressive approach for an MMO that I'm super excited for. Next up, we have one of the most targeted and also discussed subjects, and that's regarding the PvX or the PvP aspect. The fact that PvP will always be active, meaning you could potentially be ganked or killed anywhere in the open world. While this is true, Ashes makes a great deal out of naming themselves as a PvX game, with the defining principle that PvE builds the world and PvP changes the world. If we take a look at similar popular MMOs, we have the PvP servers from World of Warcraft, which thrived for a long time. There were no penalties, even when killing very low levels, only the fact that you didn't receive honor. If we take Albion Online or other more hardcore PvP based games, you'll drop all your items upon death from PvP. This is not the case in Ashes of Creation. In Ashes of Creation, Intrepid has a system called Corruption. The PvP flagging and corruption system is a place to safeguard against griefing without limiting opportunities for open conflicts. So let's have a look into this system to understand why it's friendly towards the casual player.
I'm excited to see how he does this. I've been very quiet because I've just been impressed with how well he's been covering everything. I'm very interested to see if he does cover the corruption system correctly, because oftentimes when this specific boogie monster is talked about, a lot of people's original opinions come through, and I think it misses the overarching point of what this is. So it'll be interesting to hear his point.
At first, all players start as a non-combatant, a green player, and cannot be attacked without consequences. If you attack another player, you become combatant, a purple one. Combatants can attack and be attacked by other combatants without any penalties for either party. When a combatant kills another combatant, nothing crucial happens other than he remains this way for 60 seconds. If a combatant kills a non-combatant, they become corrupted, red. Corrupted players get stat penalized, making them weaker. they have a higher chance of dropping items upon death, and their penalties for dying is also higher on their glint and their experience loss. Corruption is visible to everyone, making all the corrupted players targets. Further, there's bounty hunter system that can track and kill corrupted players for rewards. Only ways to get rid of corruption is by dying and thereby reducing your corruption score. The other way is to gain experience, however this is a very slow process, which will also reduce your corruption score. The corruption system protects thereby the casual player by deterring griefing. It ensures that while PvP is part of the game, there is significant consequences for people who want to abuse it, just making the game more enjoyable for everybody. Last on the list, before moving on to the bonus reason, we are competent.
So very well said, very well articulated. I have nothing to say there. I do want to chime in just a little bit because there's so many details in this little chart that makes it so much better when you start seeing how good it is for people. But we can run through a couple of thought experiments. I know thought experiments are super exciting, guys. I know you're super excited about this. But let's say you're out there farming, right? You're out farming and you don't have a ton of resources. You don't have a ton of resources on you. There's nothing worth being attacked for, but somebody attacks you anyways because they don't know, right? They're out there trying to figure out what you have. So you choose to go the non-combatant route. With a non-combatant route, you will drop more resources. There is a rule in Ashes to where if you take the coward's way out and you don't fight back, you drop more loot. So if you don't have any loot, who cares if you drop more of 0, right? It's 0. But what you do is you flag the person as corrupted. So then this person that attacks you, they go corrupted. And because they're corrupted, now they are on the map. They can be attacked by bounty hunters. They can be, sorry. Let me erase this. Let me restart because I clicked the wrong thing. It's still the same point, but I clicked the wrong thing. That's my bad. So if you are purple, let me restart again, right? And so you're purple and you walk across somebody, and same example I provided, you're the person, you have no resources, somebody attacks you. They will be a combatant. You choose not to fight back. You turn them into corrupted. Now they suffer penalties. They suffer gear and stat penalties. They suffer the potential to drop their own gear. You've basically Uno reversed the situation to where now they can drop some valuable stuff. So they went from thinking that they were going to farm loot to now you could potentially farm them. So you spawn back up, you get your friends, you go attack them. And the best part about this is if you're a non-combatant, which you will be when you spawn back up as a non-combatant, and you attack the corrupted player, you remain a non-combatant. You don't get flagged for PvP. You stay a non-combatant. And if I remember correctly, you are immune to roots and snares. I think that's what it says in the wiki. I can double check to confirm, but it is a very interesting aspect to the system. So all of a sudden, if you're chasing down a corrupted player, they cannot flag you for PvP. And so you ignore some of the combat systems of dealing with a corrupted player. And so oftentimes when you see people talk about corruption and how brutal it is and everything, there are some Uno reverse techniques that you can use to really punish these types of players. And one of them is this. And so a point that I've tried to make oftentimes with talking about the corruption system is if you have a ton of resources, like you've been out farming for 6 to 8 hours and you get attacked by somebody and they're trying to gank you and take your stuff, you're going to want to flag combatant. Like, 1 second. Let me switch the color here. Like, you will want, if somebody flags here and they attack you, you're going to want to fight back. Because when you fight back, what happens is you drop less loot. So it's the better of two evils, right? So if you're carrying a shit ton of stuff, you fight back 100%. You 100% fight back. You don't drop as much stuff. You return more stuff. It sucks that you got out there. You were out farming for too long and you got caught, but this is the best possible option, right? And so in that situation, you want to become a combatant. But if you have nothing, you can absolutely screw over somebody trying to go corrupted. And so obviously he shouldn't discuss this in the video, but it's just another, like, this is a unnecessary tangent, but it is another interesting aspect of the corruption system, in my opinion, that makes it so interesting. And it's not like as easily abusable as you would think when you first look at it.
Enjoyable for everybody. Last on the list, before moving on to the bonus reason, we actually have the classes. Let me explain you why. The class system in Ashes of Creation is both complex and flexible, designed to cater to various playstyles. With 64 classes, it might seem overwhelming at first, but let's simplify it. The game is based on 8 primary archetypes: tank, mage, fighter, cleric, rogue, summoner, ranger, and bards. And you can mix and match these to create your unique class.
Sure.
This means that while there are many options, they all stem from familiar archetypes. For casual players, this flexibility is a game changer. You can start with a basic archetype and later customize it to fit your playstyle without feeling pressured to choose the perfect class from the start. Additionally, the rock, paper, and scissors dynamic in a 1 versus 1 matchup ensures that every class has strengths and weaknesses, making each one viable in different scenarios. This system helps casual players find their niche where they can excel without needing to constantly chase the meta to stay relevant. This has always been a key point for Intrepid, so let's just hear what they have to say about it all the way back in 2008.
That's actually a really good point.
Balancing for PvP on a 1-for-1 ratio, like
1 versus 1.
yeah, I think that's the better way of wording that question.
We don't want to. We're not trying to balance. That is. There will be matchups in 1v1s where one class will be superior to another. And that application should be a rock, paper, scissors dynamic. We want there to be counterplay between the different classes. That's something that's important. We feel it will be beneficial to raid composition because raids will then not just be able to run a mage ball, because those are the ultimate class in the game at the moment. And when the game changes, the meta, that. Instead, what we want is 3 houses in this system where archetypes exist and have a not necessarily decisive, but do have a advantage over their counter classes. So because of that, we don't really think 1v1s to that degree.
Got some cutouts here.
Instead, it's going to be a group-focused balance where, as long
Luckily,
as you have
I've heard this before.
the diversity of class present, that's going to be an equal level playing field. It's going to be very dependent on skill and strategy.
Awesome.
Now let's get into the bonus casual-friendly system, which is in fact the profession.
Okay, 1 second. So I talked about this on a video a few months ago. I think it was a few months ago, talking about the rock, paper, scissors dynamic in Ashes. And the more they reiterated on it recently, I think in a live stream a couple months ago, it opened up like how interesting this is going to be for dynamics, because it's not just the classes. They also talked about augment systems, different skills and abilities having rock, paper, scissors dynamic as well. And so I'm gonna color the worst rock imaginable here. Like, okay, so we got a blue rock, and then we'll put paper up here, the worst paper imaginable, and then we'll do scissors, the worst. Oh my god, those scissors are amazing. Holy shit, those are good scissors. Those are good scissors. There we go. Those are scissors, guys. And so when you look at the rock, paper, scissors dynamic in Ashes, it's super interesting because it's a way of balancing the meta of the game without having the devs constantly adjusting things. Like, how many times have you guys played a game where they introduce a new patch, they introduce new sets, they adjust a class that was underperforming, and now it's overperforming? Now it's the Rock. It is right over here, just big daddy damage. It's got everything. It changes the meta, right? So more and more people are running this Rock because it's more effective. And sometimes when stuff is so powerful, all you see in other games is the Rock. All you see is Dwayne The Rock Johnson, everybody just running around being badasses because that's literally the best class in the game. Why run any other class? Because that class is the best, right? The way Ashes is designing things is, yeah, you can have a Rock. Yeah, Rock could get adjusted to be powerful. That's fine. Our other classes are going to be powerful too. We're not balancing them to make Rock equal to paper or Rock equal to scissors. Rock is powerful in its own right. It's got unique powers that are going to be effective as a Rock. We're also going to do the same thing for paper. We're also going to do the same thing for scissors. And so if Rock gets buffed in whatever way, what you're going to have happen is you're going to have a basket of your 10,000 players. And let's say everything's perfectly equally balanced. And you got 3,000 of these players, you got 3,000 of these, you got 3,000 of these, right? On a server. And it's all perfect harmony, perfect synergy. Everybody's equally running each class. Everything's great. Rock gets buffed, right? So now Rock is just crushing scissors. Rock is absolutely destroying scissors, and a lot of people want to move away from scissors. Well, not everybody is going to move to Rock. A lot of people will. A lot of people will move to the strongest class and how effective it is. But other players are going to choose like, hey, these are my main enemies. Everybody's running this specific archetype. I know if I run this paper class over here, I hard counter them. I know that if I run this, I am more effective against them as long as I play better. I have advantages against their class. And so you're going to see this dynamic to where instead of everybody running the same class and everybody in the game running this, you now have people choosing more of these. And because of that, you're going to see a lot more people running paper and a lot more people running paper to counter Rock. And then at that point, because people are running paper to counter the Rock, you will then see people slowly shift to scissors to deal with these paper groups. And so it's super interesting. It's super interesting. We'll have to see exactly how it's employed. We'll have to see exactly how it works. But you will see the shift in dynamics of people slowly shifting, adjusting. Players will solve a lot of the balance issues themselves through their class choices and weapon choices. And I think that's super interesting.
System. Crafting in Ashes of Creation is designed to be engaging and rewarding, yet accessible. Professions are diverse, from blacksmithing to alchemy, and they all play a crucial role in the game's economy. For casual players, the key benefit is that crafting doesn't require you to be locked in for long periods. You can gather your resources, craft items, and trade them at your own pace. And because the fact that each profession relies heavily upon other professions to find success, you can always find a profession to stay relevant and make use of the specialization to become the best amongst even the hardcore, to create a specific weapon or armor, or find that specific certain material. If you want more details on the profession system and how we as a casual player can become relevant, then keep an eye out for a video I'm working on around this subject. The game also supports players' shops and stalls, allowing casual players to set up their own businesses. This system means that you can be an important part of the game's economy without needing to compete with the players who spend much more time in the game. If you enjoyed the video so far and is too lazy to look for the next one, consider subscribing. Every subscription means the world to me. I haven't even discussed the impact of casual players on the node system just through their masses of players. Nor have I discussed the housing system, and yet there is a lot of promising casual-friendly systems to dive into. On a different note, my personal concern is regarding raiding. As a long-term PvE-focused player, I've been forced within fixed timeframes to play to fit into our family schedule. With open-world PvE, I do not see how this is feasible. From my time with Classic WoW, I did never bother to try and go for the world bosses, since they were so heavily contested that you needed scouts and a full raid team standing by at all time to get them down. I were never in a place where I could participate at that level. I'm not saying
Sure.
that necessarily is only a bad thing, but in World of Warcraft we had our traditional raids to go in progress for. For Ashes of Creation, we know some raids will be instanced. However, exactly how many and how it will be done, we have to yet see during the Alpha 2 testing. Overall, Ashes of Creation is taking a large step towards the casual player, underneath their complex systems. And I think this is just the sweet spot of easy to play, hard to master, that will make a game changer. Thanks for watching. See you again at the Lazy Tavern.
Good video. Well done, man. We'll like and subscribe for that. That was well done. That was really well done. I thought that was a good video. I thought he was well spoken. I thought he articulated it well. I agree. I do agree that this game is going to be a lot more casual friendly than people think. And I didn't look at it from the hours played perspective. I looked at it more from the casual gamer, like people that just hop on to just kind of ditz around. Not so much hours played, but content, right? And I thought even in that case, it was going to be very good for casual players, just players that aren't taking the game very seriously. And I was curious how he was going to approach this. So let me 1 second here. So this is Richie's from a long time ago. Let's get one without so much writing. I didn't think that one was going to have writing on it. My bad. My bad. Let's pull this one up. There. A little bit tinier. We'll expand. Enhance. 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 There. So that is the Ashes of Creation map, as a lot of you guys already know. It's very pretty, right? No, I'm just kidding. I'm good. I'm kidding. Don't shut off the stream. But when I look at the map, I think there's going to be a lot of major contested points, and I think a lot of them will revolve around the center. So when you look at this map, I think a lot of the major contested areas will be in this area, and I think a lot of the major contested areas over here will be in this area. Just more conflicting areas, like from the north and the south, like you're in the middle. Like this is going to be where all of the high drama, I think in general, the higher skilled players will congregate on maps. I think they'll congregate in more of these central areas because there's just more to do. There's more action. There'll be more people interacting. There'll be more, because there's more people, there'll be more stuff to sell. There'll be more stuff to buy. I think a lot of people will congregate in these areas. And so I think your more sweaty, larger scale players will engage in these areas. I think this will be the case. What I also think is going to happen is I think in some of these outskirts areas, like up here and then way up here, like the harder to access areas, and some of the areas down here and down here, just stuff that's like not as easily approachable. I think a lot of these areas will be a lot more casual friendly, meaning there's a lot less interaction. There's a lot less strife. And so I think you're going to see nodes rise and fall rather quickly in these areas, and nodes operate at a much slower pace in these areas. More like, what's the analogy I was going to use? I just blanked on it. But regardless, I just think that there's going to be a lot more interaction here. And because of that, there's going to be a lot less interaction on the outer skirts. And so because of that, I think casual players, like players that are just hopping on, maybe they want to have, housing. Like they want to engage in their node. They want to go out and do some more casual questing. They want to play. I think things are going to move a lot slower on the outskirts, and they're going to be able to enjoy that a lot more. A lot less ganking, a lot less wars. There will still obviously be those things, and it will fluctuate through time periods. But I think over the course of a year, without actually being on the map, I think there will be areas like this that will be a lot slower moving. And so because of that, I think his point on hours played players, yes, like if you don't have much time to play, I think that this game will be very good for that. But I think for the player that doesn't want to hop on and sweat 24/7, I think there's spots for them too. And so, yeah, overall, I thought that was a very, very well done video. I thought he approached that really well. So, yeah, that's about all I had for tonight, guys. It's about all I had. I wanted to do a quick stream, wanted to hang out. I am still alive. I have a couple of videos that I'm working on that will be coming out soon. I just have to get some time to get them recorded and edited and everything. But they're coming in down the pipeline here. And so I will try to stream some this weekend if I'm around, and I will get some videos out and hopefully, be more interactive here in the future. So I'm going to end this here. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for coming to hang out. I will catch you on the next one. See ya.